Hello, everyone, and welcome to BIPOC, or Beautiful Inspiring People of Color. I have the pleasure and the honor today to be sitting here with Mr. Derek Mason out of the UK. Hi, Derek. How are you doing today?
Hi Daniel, I'm doing okay, I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So we're just going to jump right in it. If you can tell people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Derek Mason. I got into this understanding or into this community when I was in prison serving a sentence in 2017. And it was something that I didn't really, it was a lifestyle that I thought I had to live because of the color of my skin, my upbringing, circumstances. Yeah, and I bumped into an organization that was running this understanding and it sort of like fundamentally changed my life. Since I was released from prison, I've started to volunteer for that company. Then I became a director of that company. I'm now a director of the 3PGC. I'm also a I'm a non-executive director of another charity that works within the prison sector. And since before coming into contact with understanding, I used to have such a low opinion of myself and a low opinion of people around me and people I saw as enemies and people I could never work with. But like I said, since I've got this understanding, all of them barriers have broken down, and my life has just been enriched with so many people from different cultures and backgrounds that I sort of see we've all got the same story behind that. Behind the content of our physical story, we've all got the same turmoil going on in the background. We've all got the same sort of narratives going on. And it's just been amazing for me to come into contact with this understanding and sort of be able to spread it by running community groups myself, being involved in the conversation with all different communities. And I think it's just a beautiful.
Oh, I love that. It's amazing. Well, before I comment, the understanding he's talking about is the three principles, which was founded by Sydney Bank. And I can relate to that when I think and look back on my life before coming into this understanding. I had a very living my life, I would say, from outside in versus an inside out. And always feeling like life was happening to me and it wasn't something that I could control instead of life is always happening for me. Yeah, I love that. And I haven't known you long, but I've always loved hearing your story. I first heard your story on a podcast, which resonated with me, and just hearing your journey. I knew then, like, wow, I got to find out who this is because this is powerful. But throughout being in this community, one of the things that I love that I'm a part of is beautiful and people of color. And I know that that was formed in 2020, coming off of what happened with George Floyd in the United States. And it's kind of flourished since then. And for me, I love it because it's a space where I can come and talk about things that are really on my heart and share with other people that I feel like can understand what I'm talking about or what I'm feeling. That's not saying that I'm not in other spaces in the community and I still don't have people that I connect with and that share with me. I share with them because I do. But sometimes it's hard with certain topics like George Floyd, like Sonia Massey, like police brutality, and just challenges that we face not just in my country or your country, but all over the world. What have you seen or how has key understanding, how have you seen over time that's helped with some of these challenges that we've been facing?
Yeah, I love that question, Daniel. It's such a deep topic and something that's so close to my heart and something that I felt suffering from England, from my own version of injustice and how the system's set up. And yeah, this understanding's profoundly changed my aspect and my outlook on that as well. But it's not even come with a solution. It's just changed the way how I see it because before I got this understanding, with the George Floyd incidents or any other injustice that I would see would happen, I'll be the first one to say we need to use aggression or we need to show people like we need to stop it from happening and we need to do proactive and we need to change everything outside of ourselves and they need to do this and they need to do that. And there was a lot of anger there. I know that. There was a lot of anger there. And in response to sometimes in response to brutality and injustice, we think we have to use anger because that's the only thing that fuels us. But when I got this understanding, I sort of could see something around it, but not specifically. Because I was in prison when I got this understanding, and like I said, I'd always been fight fire with fire. Then the George Floyd incident happened, like you said, and there was something in me that didn't resort to the same old feelings of anger and retribution. There was more of a peaceful feeling in me, and something that I noticed, a lot of people that weren't from the community came out to march for George Floyd, and there was something in that that resonated with me, that if I'm prepared to drop all of the anger and all of those past feelings what I've got, for people that are prepared to drop all of their past feelings and just show up to the table with love, then that must be a way forward, better than me showing up angry and the next person in front of me showing up angry. There's only ever going to be one outcome. So I still don't know the solution or the answer to it, but I've seen that the love that I can see for the next human being, regardless of color, culture, background or upbringing, class, it doesn't matter. I can see a connection there. And the only thing that's stopping me from really connecting with the other person is that other person's thoughts or limitations on who they think they should be or who they think they should be around. And if they drop their limitations, then I'm prepared to drop mine. And it's from that space we will find a joint answer. Because it's not an answer to be found from only one race. We all have to buy into it, or we all have to be prepared to start from this moment here. Start to trust in ourselves and start to trust in our fellow human being. Because that's what it is. It's a human being thing. I've seen it. The division and separation that we can cause over skin color, hair color, eye color, gender. A line, I draw a line in the sand. And then we can draw separation over I come from the south side and you come from the north side. And really, we've just made up that line. And the differences within our color of our skin and our cultures, and it's something that we can see past. If we, like I said, we have that trust in ourselves, in that love. Because that's what brings us all together, that love. That's what brought me to this understanding. And it made me understand a newfound love for myself. I didn't start on this journey looking for love for everybody else. I found just looking for that love for myself. And when I found that, it spread. It wasn't limited. It spread. Regardless of, like I said before, culture, background, religion. There is no separation, really. And I haven't got the answer how to show people that, but I know all I can do is do what I know for myself. We show up in that space of love and non-judgment. Firstly on myself, then on my fellow human being. And all the separations, what I've made up, I see they fall away from me. And if I can just lift that example, I know that's possible for everybody else.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I love that because when I reflect back and I remember that time period with George Floyd, it was amazing to me to see so many people coming together and marching all around the world. I remember, it was in England, it was in the Netherlands, it was in, my country, it was everywhere. And I had never seen people of all colors, all races, all ages, all backgrounds just come together the way they did. It gave me hope that it's possible. It can happen. It's like with, same thing. I was in my 20s in the Air Force when September 11th happened. 9/11 happened in the United States. And it was funny because at the time I was stationed in England when it happened. But I remember watching TV and I had never seen all those things that you're talking about with separation just go out the window so quickly. I mean, there were people helping each other. There were people hugging each other, giving each other water, searching with other people through the rubble, hugging people that were crying. Color of the skin and socioeconomic background, all that went out the window. It was just so many people coming together. And I remember thinking to myself, why did it take a disaster on this scale for us to come together like that? It shouldn't have to take that. And that was another instance for me that showed me that is possible. And it's all in our thinking. It's all in our wanting to see division versus wanting to see unity. And like animals, bears don't go around and say, well, you're a brown bear, you're a black bear, well, you're a white bear, so we can't. Animals don't do that. We do that. We make that up. We decide that and are looking for different ways. And it's interesting because I had a conversation with my sons and they were like, well, Mom, if it wasn't about skin anymore, he was like, let's say everybody was the same color. Everybody was the same color. We got to this point in evolution where everybody's the same color. They were like, humans would still find something to find division with. Hair color, eye color, socioeconomics, whatever it may be. And I thought about that and I was like, they're right. And I was like, why do we do that? And I realized it's out of fear, But it's going back to what you just said, which I love. How you came into this understanding. It was initially about loving yourself more. And it was the same way for me. And with us loving ourselves more, that trickles out, spills out, ripples out to other people. And then you can have those authentic connections with people from all walks of life, different cultures, different skin colors. It doesn't matter because you realize you're all connected. Yeah.
I think that speaks into what your son was saying as well. Like, if we don't find one thing, we'll find another thing to find our separation and find security or find some form of comfort. But if we take it back to the basics of love and we just love who we are and every single aspect of it, even bits we don't like, we learn to love them. And that doesn't mean we like them. We just learn to be that's certain, like, I can get angry sometimes. I don't beat myself up that I got angry. I just know that's an aspect of me there's an aspect of the range that I'm entitled to explore. It doesn't say anything about who I am. It just said I employed some angry thinking momentarily. But when I truly see who I am, then I know that the separation line that I constantly draw, I've no need to draw it anymore. I've no need to draw it. And I love the way you drew it to disasters and them sort of things, because we could have a world full of separation and one disaster take place and everybody's pooling together. And me, I've never been to them. I've never been to a place when helped out, but I've seen, just like the George Floyd thing, when all different cultures came out, just like when a disaster happens and you see all different races, all different religions, everybody just trying to help out and get involved. But when I witness something like that, it fills me with a feeling of connection and a feeling of hope in the human spirit and hope in humanity to know that goes on. And I feel soft and I feel like I want to get involved and I've got no judgment for the people that are helping out. But just like the rest of the world, as soon as that phase finishes or as soon as that moment passes, I can easily slip back into my regular judgmental thinking and separational thinking. But it's from that space that I see that connection and it fills me with a feeling of connection and love. That's just another reminder that is where I should be. And is in that feeling of connection and love that I don't have to be a part of. I can just witness it. And it can fill me with such a feeling or unleash such a feeling in me. And I know that's where we find the answers. The separation that we go back to, that feels lonely and cold sometimes.
Yeah. And concerning BIPOC, yesterday we had a meeting and it was a very beautiful meeting, very beautiful space. So for all of you watching and listening, I encourage you to come. We have our meeting every other month. Come and just, you don't have to talk if you don't want to. You can just come and be amidst the feeling. And yesterday, I didn't know it was everything that I needed because my heart was still quite heavy from Sonia Massey. And you go through these highs and lows. So, a moment like you were talking about, you feel hopeful and you feel in a good place and you feel connected to everyone and you realize it's not all this division. It's a we. It's collectively a we. The only race is the human race. We've made up all these other races. But then things like that happen and it goes back to what you were saying where it kind of starts to make you feel hopeless again. And you're like, okay, I don't like this keeps happening. This is an injustice. This shouldn't happen. This is wrong. This is hateful. But, by going into that place of fear and that place of retribution, like you were talking about, that's not going to be the answer to the problem. That's not going to be the solution. And it goes back to what you were talking about how we can only do what we can do, which is love ourselves. And by loving ourselves, we can connect and love others. And I think sometimes people get that mistaken when they think by me saying that or you saying that means that we're dismissing the injustice. or we don't care. That's not what that means, because we do care. As people of color, we do care, but just means that we know that the answers aren't going to come from retribution. So I just wanted to put that out there too, because I know I have that conversation a lot with people, and they're like, well, you don't understand they and them, like you were saying, and us. And I realized that, okay, I can understand where they're coming from. They're seeing it from this perspective as a us versus them. Right.
Do you know, I love that the way you brought it there, Danielle, because that's why I love the black inspiring people of color space, because I've just a space I've just discovered, and like I said, I've come into this understanding, and I've not bumped into a lot of people that look like me or come from the same background as me. And once I've seen to the true nature of who I am, that doesn't really matter. That's not really an issue. But there's certain things that have come from my background and certain things that people that I can relate to, and just having that space where we can air those things. And like you said, we had a meeting yesterday and certain things were aired, certain tragic things, certain historical things that just keep on happening and keep on happening. It does come and it does leave me with a heavy heart. I don't think that will ever change. If I hear about any kind of story like that, it's going to fill me with a heavy heart. But I know 100% that being angry in my own little space, and everybody around me is going to feel a bit of that anger and feel a bit of that judgment. And it's not going to help solve the bigger problem. And it's only going to leave me and the people around me feeling low. And I sort of see it that, like I said, the love, that when we look to love, that's when we find the solutions and the answers. And there's going to be people out there that do wicked and evil things all the time. If I should let them affect me or try to, what can I do now with myself, with this love that I now know, to bring about change? Because it's not, I'm going to use this love to run away in the opposite direction. I'm going to use this love to look into it, which make my life a little bit easier, so I don't have to suffer so much hard, heavy pain in my heart. But also, when I'm looking in that direction, I might be able to find a solution. If I'm looking in that direction and I find somebody else looking in that direction who's never looked in that direction before, and we start a conversation, and a brand new type of conversation, who knows what can come of it? But I live in that hope that love will recognize love and love finds love. If there's somebody else looking for that solution from that space, then it will happen. And I don't know what the solution looks like. I don't even know where it begins. I just know that the feeling that I've got when I truly trust in myself and my fellow human being, yeah, then I know that we can all do some amazing things and we can achieve the impossible. And it all starts from starting in that unknown space that's built on the foundation of love, and love for every other fellow human being, regardless of culture, background. That's what I love about this space, because it's not a separation space. It's not a space we've got, oh, we're going to separate ourselves. It's a space to have a conversation for all cultures, people from all backgrounds, and then we can see where we can move forward without having conversations where other people in the room are feeling awkward, or other people in the room are feeling like their voices ain't being heard. I think it's very important to have a space where we can talk judgment-free about issues what we think are important to us.
Yeah. And going back to what you said when you were talking about how it opens up to have conversations to someone who may not understand. I love that too, because I have friends who don't understand and they genuinely ask me questions. And it's funny because before they ask, they want to make sure, like, I want to ask you something, but I don't want you to get upset or mad, because I'm genuinely just wanting to know because I don't understand. I'll be like, go ahead, go ahead. I love that because oftentimes people do have questions. They don't understand, but they're scared to ask or scared to understand because they immediately think that they're going to get lashed out at for asking the question or not understanding. So I love that, you know, beautiful, inspiring people of color is a safe space, not just for us, but for people of different cultures and nationalities that can come and share that space and get more understanding where they might not be able to feel comfortable asking directly to people, they can come and be present and get further understanding. And the more we understand each other, the more we grow and we evolve together as human beings. So I love that you touched on that.
I think that's the only thing that we can ever take care of is ourselves. So if I know that in this space all there is love, so anybody that comes into this space, I know that they're sort of, they might not know everything. So if they're going to ask a question, I know there's no offense behind it because we're all here in a space of love. And at one point that might have been hard for me. At one point I needed to know your background and where you're from and why you're asking a question like that. If I just know you're in this space because you, like I said, you want to know, you feel the love, then yeah, we can all move forward from there. And it's just a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful space that just, like I said, with all these different communities that have come about, you've got people from French speaking, Dutch speaking, German speaking communities. They all want to speak to people in their own language and talk to like-minded people and go off in different directions and have different views and opinions, but they've got some common denominator. And that's what we just want to know, that yeah, we invite other people in, but we've got that common denominator where we know that we're valid and we can encourage each other and see each other, what each other's doing and share information. And that again is encouraging. When you're not hearing when you're not hearing your language in a community, it can start to feel a bit lonely. So now we can start to hear our own voices in the community, and I think that again is something that's open to all. Open to all. Beautiful, inspiring people of color. There's so much of us out there. So the ones of us are here, like I said, we need to hear our voices be heard. And an open invitation to everybody.
Right. And when you're first coming, well, for me, in my experience, when I first came into this understanding, it was through someone we both know commonly, Rob Cook. And I remember saying to him when I first was exposed to the community, I was a little hesitant because I didn't see anyone that looked like me other than him. And I was like, okay. And instantly it started to push me away. I didn't know anything about the community. I was already forming narratives in my mind, like, okay, I don't see anyone that looks like me. So this isn't for me. What is this? Okay, I need to protect myself. This is not cool. That kind of thing. And I remember him telling me, when I asked him, I was like, well, where are the people of color? And he was like, they're there. You just don't see them in these pictures and everything, the sites and stuff. He was like, you just don't see them, but they're there. So I was like, okay. So since I knew him, I was like, okay, I'll trust his word. But if I didn't know him really, no, I would have never even given it a chance because I would have already formed my opinions and thinking to myself, oh, well, this isn't for me. This, I don't see any people of color here and, that this isn't for me. And it was funny because what got me over that actually was listening to the community's podcast, the We're Listening podcast. So I'm up there and I'm listening to all these people. And of course, there were guests like you who were people of color and from everywhere all over the world. And I'm just listening to their stories. I'm just listening to their hearts. And I was like, wow, like I've never seen anywhere where all of these people of different backgrounds are just coming together, supporting each other and encouraging each other and, inspiring each other. And that's what really did it for me. But if I had not already known someone personally, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that this space was created. Because for people that are new and being exposed and coming into the community, they won't let that set them back where they're instantly saying, oh, no, this isn't for me.
Yeah. Now, that's such an important point you raised there, Danielle, because me personally, I think I had a slightly different journey in because I was heavily impacted when I was in prison. And the people in prison, none of them really looked like me. None of them came from a background same as me. But yet I managed to be impacted by them, and that sort of dropped away a little bit of the separation that I'd always thought how life was and how life was meant to work out. So then when I've come out and I've seen the community and there's not been a lot of people that look like me, I sort of saw through the separation and saw, okay, there's a connection there, but it was still, where are all the people that look like me? And why is there not more effort? So what? Because everyone will get caught in their own thing, just doing what they need to do for themselves. So I truly understand if somebody new was to come in and look and see nobody that looked like them, then they might be a little reticent to jump in and reveal their truths and let go of reveal their true self. some people that's important for them to see like for like and see what they see people that look like them that they can resonate with. And then once you see that, then that's it. That is it. You know that it raises my ambition on what I can achieve. And then I hear someone's story and they only had this understanding 12 months and now they're doing this and now they're doing that. It's possible not only for them, but it's possible for me. The things that I thought held me back, I've realized through this understanding, they don't really hold me back. It's my thinking about them that holds me back. And the more
Right.
people I see in this understanding that look like me, they've got a slightly different story to me, just boosts me up again. Just lets me know again that we are all exactly the same thing. But where we can go to a community and see loads of us that look the same, got roughly the same backgrounds, then it can be more inviting and more tempting in. But when we drop below that layer, we realize again, like we're saying, that we're all the same. We're all the same.
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember telling Rob when I had the concerns and it was like, yeah, where are all the people colored and everything? And I remember him laughing and he was saying that they were there. And then he was like, yeah, but you're going to get to a point where it's not going to even matter. And I was thinking to myself, like, what is he talking about? Yeah, it matters. And he was absolutely right. It got to a point one day, didn't matter. Sometimes I'd go into spaces and I'd be the only person of color I saw. Didn't matter. And it goes back to what we were talking about with those connections and connecting with others to understand that we're all human. We're all in this together. We all go through similar things. We all can learn from each other. We're all one big human race community. It took me the experience of that to know that that's possible, that it is possible. But I also still now have compassion for others because I do understand that everybody is not in that place, and there's times where I've talked to different people and different people of color. And of course, they're looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, Danielle, what are you talking about? And it's more like, what have you been doing? Because, you're not living in the real world. Over here in the real world over here, this is what's going on. So, and I get it because when I listen, I hear me and how I used to talk and say that and how I used to think like that and how I used to. So it doesn't bother me because I understand where they are. And I'm just like, I can just continue to show love and be me. And it's okay, even if they don't understand it. And sometimes they get curious, start asking questions. Okay, what is it you're doing again? Why are you so happy again? How can you be so calm again? Yeah.
That's so funny, and the way you said it as well, because that's something, again, I thought I could never get to that space where, like what you said, what Rob said to you, like one day that won't even matter. And always in the background, it would always sort of matter to me. And it wouldn't be on such a deep level, but it would always sort of matter. And I found myself at an event a few months ago, and there was only about 3 or 4 people of color at the whole event, a few hundred people there, and only 2 or 3 black people. And I sort of saw, and what you just said has sort of highlighted this to me, that it didn't matter. To me, personally, it didn't matter. And what I've sort of realized is what I would have done before, it would have mattered, and I would have taken out my anger on all the people that are around me that weren't the same color as me. Because obviously they're part of the problem, because they're not the same color as me. But all they've done is turn up to an event to just try to show up to an event. The fact that they all happen to be white, or the fact that none of them happen to be black, it's got nothing to do with them. So
Right.
I'm sort of walking around. I would usually walk around that angry thing. Oh, look, they're all over there. They're talking about me. Look, they're noticing that I'm the only black person. Or they're only talking to me because I'm the only black person. And it'll just be a lot of outwardly. But at that event the other day, I didn't feel none of that. I was comfortable in my skin, knowing that I was the only black person that was in a certain room at a certain time. And it didn't matter. And the people in the room couldn't do anything to ease my worries or to ease the anxiety that I previously felt. That was all coming from me. And yeah, that experience went by without that being the main highlight of the topic of conversation every time people ask me what happened when I went to the event, which is what would have been, which is But it wasn't. I
Yeah.
was managed to take in the event. I enjoyed myself, and I actually done what I was meant to go there to do, which was not actually focus on the separation and focus on the connections and focus on the feelings and the amount of love that was in that place. So it's just when I say it's how we sort of see it and interpret it that gives way to how we experience it. And I'm all for having a better experience without not turning my nose up at what's really going on, like having
Yeah.
a reality of what's really going on. So when, like you said, when people have told me, someone's before has told me how someone's dealt with them in an organization that's not too good, and they've said it's racism straight away, and I've tried to say, oh, is it written? And they've just, and I felt like I'm like that little token person now, just trying to defend the undefendable. And it's like, hold on, how did I find myself in this space? Like, I'm the one on saying, no, let's do what? How did I find myself here? Like defending, but I find myself, so that's not even my place to defend. It's just my place to experience what I'm experiencing. And if you're experiencing that, then you're experiencing that. I have to respect that. But I have to give you that space, maybe we can experience it differently. Maybe the reality of the way of what's going on, we don't have to experience it that way. And we're not in denial of what's going on, but we just don't let it have to affect us. It's like what we were saying earlier, when a certain energy level is coming at you, if you're grounded enough, it will just pass through you and won't even touch the sides. But at least you know what's
Yeah.
coming at you, and you know what's required to deal with it. It's neutrality,
Yeah.
neutrality,
Yeah.
and that's
We
the
don't have to
struggle.
match hate with more hate or match fear with more fear. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Well, I just wanted to thank you for today. Thank you for being a part of Beautiful, Inspired People of Color. And, I always appreciate your presence and your shares, and it's always from the heart. And I love that. I hope everyone watching this and listening to this, I hope you'll just come and join us. Just take a look and take a listen, because we're here to support you. We're here to love you. And once again, just thank you. I really enjoyed this today.
Well, thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome. All right, you guys, all you out there, until the next time, you take care and be blessed. Bye.
Bye.